Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Strife's Sanctum podcast. My name is Citizen Strife, and I'm doing something a little different because I'm going on vacation soon to see my family, and I won't be able to record this at its normal time. I'm going to do my rundown of anime that I've been watching recently on a Tuesday, and getting that uploaded now, so I'm not used to it, but I have the day off, and I figure won't really have a chance to otherwise because I'm coming back on Saturday afternoon. So, figure I'll just run down what I've got, and this will be a post-mortem on spring and delving into summer still. And then going forward after that point, it's just going to be all summer stuff. So, as usual with the ground rules, dub shows only. So if it's not listed here, it's either something that is subbed only and I haven't watched it, or it hasn't been dubbed yet, but sometime in the future will be. Who knows? Most of the stuff is going to be on Crunchyroll and or Netflix, though the lone exception right now is going to be Prime Video. Probably know which one I'm talking about. So I have access to those, and those are the platforms I watch mostly from. So there's that. And knowing that this is the end of a season, I'm not going to belabor points. I want to save those for their own separate episodes, as summaries. But I do have a lot to get through, both stuff that I did enjoy and stuff I didn't. So let's finish off spring. And we'll start. Let's see, which ones have we done? Okay, we finished those. Okay, so Demons of a Shadow Realm is one of those shows that's going to be kind of in one season and finishing into another, so we'll go with that. And only an episode so far. They took a week off, I think. And realistically, what they've been doing is kind of showing off the hitmen and mercenary characters here and there. Somebody actually kind of went inside Yuru and Asa's village by means of an interesting teleportation method, slicing like a hole in someone's stomach and making it a metaphysical teleportation point, like a void space, and then going out through it and going into the village without having to do the weird walking path method that has been explained. So he goes and massacres people, like you do, and he goes looking for the fake Asa, and tries to. They've alluded to who it is. I'm guessing it's a demon of sorts, or a demon vessel of sorts. They haven't explained what it can do or will do, or why he even wants it yet. But the fact that there's all these weird warring factions against each other, in and out of Kagemori clan and in and out of Dara's clans and all that stuff, and who's protecting whom and doing what. I do like that they have these shifting motivations and changing things and having all these fight scenes prepped with all these characters that they're building with all these daemons, and they're like, oh, you've got this village thing that's still putzing around and causing trouble, and who's this fake Asa, and what's she gonna do? What's the real Asa gonna do? If she finds out. Excuse me, I had an apple. Trying to cut down mouth clicks. If you hear them, I tried my best. But the fake Asa exists still. So how's that going to play into things? How's the real Asa going to take care of it? How's Yuru going to take care of it if he sees all this shit? And who even is this weird mob guy who's been fucking around with one of the Kagemori dudes and telling him off and planning things? There's so many competing interests and weird things going on. They have definitely spread themselves not so thin. There are shows that I would say Concrete Revolutio, which was trying 50 things and only landing about 5 of them. This is doing about 6 or 7 things and slowly peeling back the curtain on all of them. So, who knows if they all work. Dang it, I'm trying not to sneeze now, too. That's just lovely. But yes, Daemons of the Shadow Realm is one of the shows that's going into both seasons. So that's going to be nice. Ascendance of a Bookworm, which took a week off from videos. I want to say 2, but for sure the last couple. But those 2 are going to be shows that are going to be going into summer directly. One that finished up and then might come back later is Kill Blue. Last set of episodes is about this new girl who shows up, and they're constantly going over Noren and trying to find people, but now her motivation is to stop Noren so that she can date Ogami. Because, of course. And whether that works out for her, I mean, good on her, I guess. If she wants to go after a dude who's probably 45 but is in the body of a 15-year-old, but whatever the fuck. Whatever floats your boat, lady. I mean, you don't fucking know. I mean, it could be that she's a test subject too, but no, I'm guessing she's just some weirdo who has the power of being a very meek girl and then turning into a very not meek girl with different skin color. They have yet to explain that part, other than it's this kind of show, so deal with it. And that might be all there is to it. I'll have to wait till next season to find out. I found, again, this is, much like Marriagetoxin, trying to follow the Sakamoto Days sort of vibe of Hitman shows. And doing an okay job. I mean, its premise is solid, and they have avoided a lot of the ickiness. They haven't indulged in it other than gag stuff, like in the later episodes with the hypnosis bullshit. But they're doing what they were supposed to do, keeping this dude, thinking of them as like daughters rather than love interests, thank fuck for that, and keeping his distance. And introducing enough weird Hitman stuff that everybody has special powers and does all this stuff, but all the side characters feel like they're important too. They're not just there just for set dressing. At least some of them have interest, like the Home Ec Club. They're like, oh, introduce some of the members of the Home Ec Club just to give them some time on the screen, so you don't have just the guy and the girl, which can plague shows sometimes. It's not lived in enough if you don't do that. So I've liked Kill Blue. I was worried with its premise, but the more I watched it, the less worried I was, and it just kind of fit in that, like, pretty good. It's not going to win everybody over immediately, but I think it's solid enough. Show that isn't so solid, and I am kind of glad it's over, is Needy Girl Overdose. I was sort of liking it in a weird, cringy, kind of subversive way. And then a couple episodes started driving me fucking up the wall, and they tried to make this weird, like, statement of K Angel's real self going fucking nut, like, just completely nuts. And, like, episodes 11 and, well, I think it was 10 and 11. Episode 10 was them fighting each other and about who was the best streamer and all this crap. And then episode 11 was where I really, like, do I want to finish this show? They went really, really awkward and disturbing. Even for, like, I don't mind 18 plus stuff, and I don't even mind depraved or weird shit. I actually like it when it's done well, but this was not done well. Episode 11 in this show was just, let's just make a bunch of weird stuff happen to this girl and, basically just turn her into a fucking invalid and just make weird fucking visual gags and creepy stuff and horror stuff. And I'm like, this is not what you were doing. For better or for worse, Needy Girl Overdose was just a commentary and a satire on the social media expose. You didn't need to go Doki Doki Literature Club meets Five Nights and all weird visual shit, because I wasn't even liking it completely to begin with. And then you throw those 2 episodes. At the very least, like, it was near the end, but an ending can be just as important as the beginning. But I'm also less likely to dump a show for those reasons. But I already said that I was going to dump this near the end anyway, and at least they course corrected for the finale episode. There's still one more to go, but they even call it a worthless epitaph or epilogue episode, so even they know they're just killing time. They got back to the talkie segments and them talking and doing stuff and saying things about streamers and shit, and talking about themselves rather than ooh kooky imagery, weird shit. Like, this one's gonna go down as like, I was liking it until I didn't, and now I hate it. But I'm not gonna dump it. It's just gonna stand as one of those. Like, it's funny because one of the things I'm gonna do recently is, or next in a couple months, is something called shows I can endlessly rewatch and shows that I can never watch again. And this is definitely gonna fit into the never watch again category, and I'm not even gonna give it another chance solely because the last few episodes pissed me off so much. Because there were things I liked about this, and then they went off the deep end so far that I'm just like, dude, just stop. So, I'll just say this now. Like, if you're into that stuff, maybe you liked those episodes, maybe you liked the show better than I did, but if you're into normalcy and, like, trying to make sense of things, this show is not for you. And I will put this in the dump pile where it belongs, in, like, the 6 and below category of, like, I'm probably never watching these again. And it says a lot where my standards for shows that I'll watch at number 6, right? Because it existed. And even then, there are still some that are enjoyable, but it's also that cutoff of like, man, no. And this was in the man, no category. It'll also probably end up being like those Elfen Lied situations where I watched it once and I thought, okay, maybe I'll rewatch it someday. No. Like, I rewatched Elfen Lied maybe once or twice back when I was in my 20s, but now that I'm in my 40s, this is just no. No. And this is going to be one of those. So I'm probably going to reference this one in that episode. I'm going to have to remember that. So, Needy Girl Overdose, nice knowing you. Anyway, Marriagetoxin, let's get back to the good shit. They finished up, and I talked about Kimi Arashiyama. Cool. I got her name. Perfect. Hamster Girl, Hamster Master. She's great. She's the best girl so far. It's lovely. And this was just them finishing up the runtime, and they're probably going to do another season, maybe even 2. They get a lot of stuff. They can do a lot of stuff with, like, how many different masters are in here. And again, it was Sakamoto Days meets Spy Family. Like, the dude trying to get a family, but also being a hitman for hire, but also doing it in the guise of finding a marriage, and like knowing that best girl is a dude is hilarious. And I still like holding out hope that he's just fucking with Gato and being like, I actually am a girl, and I've just been saying it just to fuck with you. I don't know that to be the truth, but their interactions are the best part of the show. And yet I do, of the perspective, 3 people, because they were focusing on 3 people as date options. There was Hikawa was nice. I liked that she was doing things as a Robin Hood sort of person and not really caring about money, and she liked sharks, so that was neat. But Ureshino was not all that interesting, so she's probably going to be at the bottom. But man, Arashiyama was just great. And they let her down easy because they still have other people they're going to talk to. But they also left the door open and being like, you know what? Of these 3, she's the best option. And it's like, dude, just go with it. Like, she's the best personality. She's got the best power set, even if it's really weak, but it's fucking cute as hell. And she just lights up the screen. So, unless they have other characters lined up, which they're gonna, they've introduced like 3 more, so hooray, another season someday. I don't know when, but unless like one of those people can convince me that they have more chemistry or really fucking good and like impossible to ignore, I'm just gonna be like, I like Kimie, just bring back the hamster girl, but this show was great. It was my 3rd favorite show of the season, and it was good. It's definitely going to be one of those I'm going to talk about at length, especially once I get the second season done, but maybe even before then. There was also Agents of Four Seasons. I haven't finished that one. They mainly just finished off the crazy mother lady. That was what they were doing. They were finishing her off, finding a way to get rid of her. The Agents of Winter finally, like, coming back together and finding Sakura and Hinagiku and, falling for them in both different ways. Sakura and Ichijo were a lot easier to get to coexist again, but I did love the ending scene with Hinagiku and Lord Rose. I just was always so much going on with the show. It did enough near the end to justify all the stuff I was worried about, which was who's the main villain, why should I care? They finally got to it, and they went about it in an intense way, trying to get me to, 4 or 5 episodes way late, figuring out who these enemies are and why they're chasing them. But they got around to it, and they made it work. And it fits so well. Like, you could still do so much more with this, but I also get the feeling that they probably don't want to. Like, you could do so much more with these power sets of these characters if you wanted, but I think as a one-season show, if that's all they get out of it, I'm not worried. Because some shows don't need 2 seasons, and sometimes you run the risk of going too far with it. So I'm good with it being a shorter-term thing, and the Dance of Spring was really nice, and it told a self-contained story. You didn't need to add more stuff to it. But if you bring this back, I'm not going to say no. But that'll do for spring. And let's see, I talked about Daemons of the Shadow Realm. Okay, you and I are polar opposites. Season 2, yay! Miyu is back, love it, yay! She's best girl of the year. Not even close. And the only one close is going to be a new character from this season. But Miyu is great, and they haven't skipped a beat. They did this as split core, which is fine. This one is all about Christmas and making stuff and finding stuff and going on Christmas vacations and doing things. And it's just nice seeing these characters again, because they were building like 3 or 4 different relationships to focus on, and they kind of give them enough time each. And they give Miyu and Tani, they're just like, they want to meet each other, and they want to make food at their house. They want to make cake, so they go and do it, and then they kiss, and it's great. And they kiss again by accident, and it's great. And her brother's annoying, and it's great. And it's just like, God damn it, this is fun. It's just stupid fun, because there's such an energy with, this cast. And, not every character is someone I like, but they all have different roles to fill. And unlike Ramparts, which is trying to do some forced drama sometimes, this one isn't really trying to do that. It's meant to be 75 to 80% comedy, so it's like, just roll with it. And it helps that Miyu is such a gremlin. It's just like, fucking ah! I love hearing her reactions to things, just the way she says things. It can be exhausting, but that's why I'm glad it had a break. So it's like, you get polar opposites, you get Ramparts of Ice, then you get polar opposites again, then you get Ramparts again, and it's perfect. They're good shows that are 2 sides of the same coin, tackling relationships in a different way, and it's really handy. Finishing off Shiboyugi, this showed up out of nowhere. So I guess this was a movie adaptation, and would I suggest it? I think it's called 44 Cloudy Beach or something like that. I would say no. It's an hour and a half of more Shiboyugi, and I like it, but in the same vein of Needy Girl Overdose, it really overdoes what its style is. And Shiboyugi's problem, less so Needy Girl Overdose of doing too much exposition and stuff. This does not do enough. And there's a lot of times where it's just a lot of dead air, just to be dead air. and having an hour and a half of that, I had to cut this in half, and I was falling asleep. So she plays, Yuki plays a death game. She survives it. It's fine, But really, what this boiled down to was the last 15 or 20 minutes. I don't want to kind of go over what happens, but realistically, it's getting to that point that's the hard part. Once you get to that hour point, hour and 5 minutes, hour and 10 minutes, and then you finally see like the last 15 minutes and like who Yuki talks to and how she talks to her and what's going on to just solidify what the game was about the entire time, it made it worthwhile, even though I was not feeling this movie much at all. And Shiboyugi has definitely felt in that weird mode where it's fun enough to watch, but only in small doses, and I'm glad I'm not binge watching it. This is not something I could binge watch if I could help it. So a movie length version of this was not what I wanted, even if that last 20 minutes was fun. But something I could binge watch forever, Goodbye Lara, my favorite show of the season. That might come to a shock to some people who are probably more fans of Witch of Magnolia, which I'll get to, and I'm on board with that one, but not as much as this. To be fair, there's no like definitive Witch Hat Atelier, like this is so far above everything else it's not even close. These two shows are probably neck and neck, along with Ghost in the Shell, so it's like there's a lot of good stuff this season, but nothing like amazing, But Goodbye Lara, I said it was fun being a Little Mermaid spoof for 20 minutes, but I'm glad they're doing something else, and they are. The goofy shit that Lara is doing, trying to figure out this new Japan place that she's in, and specifically 2026 Japan, like modern day, being transported to 250 years in the future, and trying to get her head straight and figuring out why she's even there, who her friends are, how to deal with this witch lady who's in the form of a freaking like small ass fish all the time, and then dealing with basically ruining the person who, like, she's staying with this girl and she's always messing up her house because she doesn't know any better. She doesn't know how to do anything except destroy things because she's trying to experiment and figuring out what is all this technology and ordering all this stuff off of Amazon and like whatever. They don't call it Amazon, they call it something else. But it's like ordering cake as a means to help her friend, help, and it ends up being like $1,000 worth of cake or something stupid like that, and being like, who's gonna pay for this? Who's gonna pay for all the damage to her flooded house? And that she does things like that are just so wholesome and genuine and lovable, and it's just so nice because you start dealing with other characters and like hearing their stories, but it ties back to Lara, and you're just like, her reactions to things makes it so good, because a literal fish out of water story in the scope of this Little Mermaid spoof, that they do their own thing with it, and I just love it. Grow up show. Dialogue in this show is great. It doesn't matter what they're doing. I think the main character is just a great foil for all the weirdness. She doesn't want to do things, but she gets paid by the circus master to do whatever the fuck she has to do and take over. But she's totally good at everything, guys, even though she says she's not. And then takes over for people who get hurt, or kind of fusses over the rival organization, the Sumeragi group, but totally does it in a weird way that's only beknownst to her because she's kind of weird, But it's the dialogue. It's everybody being kind of snarky to each other, but not to the point of distraction, more into the point of that's how the comedy goes. Because there's only so much they can do with the circus stuff. So even if it's, we're competing against this other troupe, or this girl is the perfect person for our troupe because she was part of this whatever troupe, and I don't really care. I care about their interactions between troop members, and the level of snark is both situational and also like not so extreme that I just get annoyed by it every second. There's not a quip every 5 seconds, but there's enough that it just feels nice. Ghost in the Shell 2026. I made sure to watch this before doing this recording because I wanted to get to it. I talked about the style being different, and specifically the major Aramaki, those two have changed the most, but the more things are going on, the more it's bending back towards procedural without losing like the looseness and the lewd nature of the show. God, they are not hiding things away. Motoko's just hypersexualized and very goofy, and like she'll see a pile of money and you'll just see her off to the side of the screen and she's just laughing at it, wanting to grab it, and then Aramaki's just like, no. She goes, no. But then she'll have a weird sex scene. You know the scene I'm talking about. There's a sex scene in this. Actually, there's multiple sex scenes because okay, apparently this is in the manga, and they've done a few, but they've been coy about it. No. I saw the thing in episode 2, and I was like, damn, this is different, and good on them for being different. And just some of the interactions, like they'll do stuff I'm familiar with, like some of the visual gags or some of the stuff with the Fuchikomas talking about AI or talking about sense of self, but then they'll just do these weird things about talking about how to create a female figure, like female android or cyborg, and be like, there's all these sexual bits and desire points and pressure points that you can do, and it's so lovely, and it's like, oh my god, this is just so raunchy, and I'm not used to it, and just yeah, honestly, what it reminds me of pacing wise is the original Trigun, because until it got super serious, that show was just, it wasn't as dark as this, it wasn't as bloody as this, because this show, shoots people and stuff, but like aside from its comedic tone, like it was very loose and fluid and goofy, and Vash was not above making an idiot of himself. It doesn't go that far, but like it is evoking that 90s feel, and it is trying so hard to be so different, and I'm all for it, because this is an adaptation I am not used to, and it's because I didn't read the manga. I don't read manga, or if I did it back when I could actually hold a manga rather than sit in a chair and read it. Anyway, but I did not know Ghost in the Shell's origin, so the movie adaptations go, standalone complex, parts of Arise, but not a whole bunch of it. Those were the things that I saw, and even the live action movie was not as loose as this, so it comes as a shock, but in a pleasant way that I enjoy it. I don't like it as much as Goodbye Lara or Witch in Mongolia, but it's definitely standing up to its legacy as a legacy brand and not doing a disservice. But Jaadugar, Witch in Mongolia. This one earns points simply because of the setting. They are set in Persia in like 13th, 14th century. It's like watching Aladdin. It's an anime version of Aladdin, this setting. And I'm all for it. Aladdin was like my favorite Disney show growing up. And I'm like seeing these visuals. I'm like, my God, this is my thing. This is my crazy, 1992, 1994 brain just coming back full circle, but now in this different setting, because this is not a traditional anime setup. So they're talking about slavery, and they're talking about Satira, I forget how you pronounce it, but the main girl like becoming a slave girl, but to a loving family. Honestly, like, I'm honestly shocked they don't like overdo it. Like the people that make them ladies in waiting or whatever, slaves in their household, they still take care of them. It's weird and wholesome despite the obvious classism. They treat her more like a sister or a daughter than like actual slave trade. It's weird. But then the second episode hits because I was able to see the second episode dubbed right after it, and holy shit, bad stuff happens, and the slavers are taken in by raiding forces and forced to do bad things, and now they're just walking and chained up, and all the bad stuff, and all the other side characters are in trouble, and now this main girl is stuck just getting really screwed over by life, and it really hurts. It really hurts to watch because you're just like, how is she gonna overcome this? Because it's also not a nice show, because the first episode kind of puts you in a mood that you're just like, am I seeing this right? Is this all that there is to it? No. Watch the second episode, but you have to watch the first episode to really get the stakes. But unlike some shows that either wait a couple of episodes, like episode 3, like Madoka Magica, or maybe midway through the season, or even like at the end, like the first half of the episode is nice, and then the second episode drops the hammer. No, this waits. It lulls you into a false sense of security in the first episode, and then cliffhanger at the end, and immediately in the second episode, shit hits the fan and goes south, and it's nice. Another good one is Kaiju Guru Caramelise, and this has best girl of the season by far. Kuroe Kaishi, and Kuroe is lovely, because her whole thing is she's dealing with kaiju transformations and on her body, essentially like malforms and defects and physical transformations due to stress. So she's bullied, like she can't get around to people and she can't be around people, and it's really rough for her. So she's talking to this guy in the stairwell like you do, and doesn't really know how to handle it, and she takes a liking, or he takes a liking to her, and she is trying to just like but like her internal monologues are fun because they're played for laughs, and her interactions with this dude are great, and her like trying to express like all these like weird things coming off of my back, and then my head, and then my hands, or my feet. Like I can't be around people. It's like malformations and transformations that it can't happen. And then when she gets actually interested in the dude, she turns into full-on kaiju, and I'm like, that escalated quickly. So where is this show gonna go? How is this gonna like pan out for 10, 11, 12, 13 episodes? But I'm all for it because Kuroe is an interesting girl, and I find it cool from a romance perspective of like dealing with this. How is the main dude gonna handle this? Because he's a bit of a I'm an actor, or I'm a model guy, and I'm popular, but I don't really like it because it's tiring and all this crap and whatever. And she's just like, you're fucking dumb, you know that? And like he ends up liking her for who she is rather than falling for all the bullying stuff, which is neat. And it's like he does not care what other people think about him because of knowing her, so it's even better. So like you can immediately see the chemistry that those two have, and I think that's what's going to carry the show. But having a strong female lead has been something of a like standard point for me for a lot of good shows lately, whether it be Frieren or Apothecary or Witch Hat Atelier, and now this. I'm not saying this is on par with those, but having a strong female lead is something I do enjoy, and they can be different types of female leads. In a show like this and what they're going for, this is like one of the best interpretations of that, and I'm like, God, I want this. This is great. So I'm happy that this debuted, and again, we've got a really good season, and there's still a couple of shows that are still potentially not terrible, but 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, Shiboyugi sort of doesn't count because it was a one-time thing, so let's just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 8 shows, on par with some of the good seasons. Like, I've had the last 2 or 3 seasons, just like 8 or 9 shows, whether they're sequels or non-sequels, I've been really happy with. Outside of the sequels that I know I'm just going to keep going with, Goodbye Lara's great, Witch in Mongolia is great, and everything else is kind of fitting in for 3rd, 4th, and 5th right now. What I will say, there have been some bad ones. I talked about Black Torch before. I think I talked about... Did I talk about Sparks After Tomorrow? I forget. Sparks After Tomorrow, I forget if I did. I'll talk about that too. Black Torch, I already said I was... This was Hanaori-san Still Wants to Fight in the Next Life. I saw it was crummy dialogue, and it was just, I'm a NEET. I reincarnated, and my rival reincarnated with me, and we're stupid, and we whatever, and we're NEETs, and it's stupid. And I'm like, fuck you, this show sucks. Sparks of Tomorrow, I dumped it. I wasn't really liking the first episode. I was on the fence, and as I was trying to watch the second episode, I'm just like, I don't like these characters. I don't really care about the main villain guy doing things to the main dude and his new friend, who is like sort of the main villain's fiance, not really the god girl, right? But I'm just not interested in the setting or the premise, and I'm just like, nah. Exiled Heavy Knight knows how to game the system. Well, it knows how to suck balls is what it knows how to do. I tried watching it for half an episode and almost felt motion sick. This was the only thing that I liked about it, other than being the cliche, this guy has the wrong power set and he's a terrible user and whatever. I hated the fact that it was using game stats and character classes and whatever with no shame, like 7 or 8 years after it became a cliche. I'm just like, God, please don't do this anymore. Like, isekais were bad enough, and they've slowed that down quite a bit, Now they're still doing the gaming stuff. Like, Shield Hero was good for half a fucking season, or even into like parts of season 2 until it shit the bed, right? And even then, the gaming stuff is very minimal. But just because Sword Art Online made it big, you gotta have every fucking show have stats in them. Like, no, you don't have to do that. What would really set this show apart, and being terrible, was the camera. I think they were going for something very unique, and instead it became a big distraction because it was every 10 seconds. They had this like worrying camera going every single direction and trying to be like this weird action set piece, where almost like watching a Doctor Strange. Like, if you've seen Doctor Strange and you see the cameras moving and the buildings moving, think of that, but in an anime context that's moving super fucking fast like a roller coaster, and the camera can't pan. Like, it doesn't stay to one shot in an action scene. It just tilts ever so slightly off center, and it constantly moves. And it's cool once in a while if you're doing an effect, but the fact that became the effect that they would do every second drove me up a wall. And I don't get motion sickness, but I can bet you if people were to watch this, they would. So I would say no. I was not a fan of the cliche dialogue. I was not a fan of the cliche setup, and the camera pissed me the fuck off. And the worst of the bunch, which may or may not come as a surprise to people, Chainsmoker Cat. I dumped it in 5 minutes, almost like the main character took a dump within 5 seconds or so. Yeah. This show was going for very disgusting and disturbing, and I saw a masturbation scene and a girl taking a dump within the same 10 seconds. And I stuck with it, maybe hoping that was just a visual gag to maybe do something more, but no, she picked up a cigarette off the ground near a poo, and I was like, no. I'm just like, no, I'm not into this. just no. This is not my type of show. Like, if you're gonna do weird, visual, disturbing gags, at least make it like Dorohedoro, where like the setting is messed up and the characters are messed up, but like in an interesting way rather than a vulgar way. This is just plain vulgar. And I'm 40 and I don't find this funny anymore. I don't think this is for me. Like, I get that, but like, come on. They even meant low effort. I'm not saying it's the worst thing I've ever seen. No, I've seen shows where I've dumped them in 5 seconds. I've seen shows that I've stuck with, like Needy Girl Overdose, that I hated way longer. But, man, this is like one of the more just, this is what we're doing? Like, man, there's just nothing redeeming about it. Nothing funny. And, like, my 15-year-old brain, if it still exists somewhere, still probably wouldn't find this enjoyable. Maybe it would. I don't know. But if you're into this kind of poo joke and cigarette stuff and like the masturbation scene of the dude who sees the fucking landlord, like, come on, man. Like, I'm sorry I had to be graphic and mention that, but if that doesn't, like, if that interests you, you're probably already watching it and loving it, and I might be missing the boat here. But no, I'm kind of just appalled by it. So maybe that's just me. I don't know. I'm being a prude. Whatever. I have enough shows that I don't need something this dumb to watch. Anyway, I'm going on vacation, so I wanted to run this stuff down now, get it done. So I did. Next week will be No Guns Life. So next week when I come back, I'll talk about No Guns Life. Danganronpa 2, Goodbye Despair. Hokkaido Gals are super adorable. And Xenosaga 3, also Sprake Zarathustra. And September 26th, I haven't updated it yet, but I should on my screen here. But I'm going to be talking about, much like Need Your Overdose and Chainsmoker Cat, shows that I'm never going to watch again. And shows that I can honestly just rewatch all the time. Like, I rewatched Bebop like a month or 2 months back in the midst of a rewatch phase. Gankutsuo. Sometimes I'll take shows, it'll take a couple years for me to want to rewatch them. But, like, boom. I watch it again, and I'm just like, yep, I'm gonna love this. I never get sick of it. I would caution it against seeing it over and over, multiple times a year, but in the scope of, oh my god, I can rewatch this, this is what I want to talk about. Some shows that, like, whether that was back from when I first started watching to stuff recently, I'm definitely in the midst of rewatching shows rather than finding newer shows to watch alongside all the stuff I'm watching, because there are so many new shows coming out that I'm liking. And because of my work schedule, trying to watch new stuff is tough. So I'm really, like, rewatching a lot of anime. And that is something I want to talk about, is like the shows that I know that I can just kind of pop back on after a year or 2 years and be like, yes, this is the thing I remember. This is the nostalgia I like. And it doesn't even have to be older stuff. It can be newer stuff, like Konosuba, for instance. So do that. And then, like I said, Elfen Lied or whatever. Maybe something like Future Diary. Shows like that where I know I should try to rewatch them again, and I just feel like just this weird revulsion when I think about them that I'm just like, no. And it doesn't even have to be a revulsion. It could be something where I can't physically play them and I don't want to pirate the shows, so maybe I'll talk about those again, whether they were good, whether they were bad, or whether they were god awful, who knows. I want to do those. So that'll be in September. I'll make a list of shows that I can rewatch and just love to death, and shows that I don't want to watch again. So anyway, that'll do for today. I will see you next time. Citizen Strive, signing off.